Earthlings, welcome to yet another Still Alive. You're still alive, Ronnie?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
you-
I feel alive. So
Yeah. Are
I
you
suppose I
very
am.
alive or just alive?
Oh, probably at my age, just alive. I'd imagine.
Oh, just alive. Okay.
Scraping through with life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. You're all lined up with your cup of tea. I've actually
Yeah.
gone
Got
for
me tea.
I've gone for barley cup today. Remember barley cup?
Oh no!
You don't
I
like
think.
that, no?
I mean, barley cup was like everyone used to drink barley cup back in the day. I don't know whether people thought there was something dodgy about coffee. Not that I particularly like coffee either, but I mean, barley cup. Oh my God, no! I could never stand barley cup, and yet some people used to love it and live on it. It's like a Marmite. It's like a kind of Marmite type thing. People either love it or hate it, and I'm one of the ones that doesn't love it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you don't like Vicon either, do you?
I'm not massively keen on Vicon. I have not had it for years.
No.
But it was a drink, wasn't it, Vicon?
Well, it's kind of like a stock, but
A
you can
gravy,
use
yeah.
it.
No, I think
Yeah.
I don't think I was too bad. Didn't mind Vicon too much, but
We used to get in our little boxes in prison. We used to get it.
Yeah, we in our one we used to get yeast extract. It wasn't Marmite. It was some other type of yeast extract. It wasn't Vicon.
But you used to get some peanut butter and
We had peanut
tahini?
butter. We had the yeast extract. We had peanuts. I think there was a carton of soya milk. I can't remember.
Vegan Marge, probably.
Yes, I think possibly so. I can't really remember the rest of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's quite a big box. I remember.
It used to be. Yeah, it used to be pretty good because, of course, I think tea bags as well, because the prison tea, they used to come around with a prison tea, didn't they, in the evening and that, or after, at the meal times, there was a big tea urn that you could get tea out of it. But the trouble is, it had the milk in already, the cow's milk in already. So
do you remember we boycotted the tea for about 3 months until we were able to get some fair trade. Remember
that? Yes, I do. Yeah, and I think they did supply fair trade, didn't they?
Yeah. So we hung out for the.
We did. Yeah, went with that. How I went with. I mean, I don't know how I went without tea for any length of time, without kind of.
No, well, it's like everything in it needs must. So, hello to Amber V in the chat. Terry Regan. Is it Reagan or Regan?
Regan. Terry Regan. Terry Regan. He's a vegan. Remember that.
Okay.
Remember that rhyme. You'll get it right.
Paul Hatterley is there. Deb. Hello, Deb. Not your mum, not your milk. BC. Laura. Canadian Vegan Forever, Vegan Island Radio. That's an interesting question. I can't remember. It was one of those kind of, trademark free, royalty free things that I just found. I think so. Yeah, but and then this is your thing about
right. So that's going to be the end of TikTok, isn't it? People go, well. We're not going to be on TikTok now because there's old blokes on it, and we'll invent another social media for all young people to go on.
Yeah, well, you can put like a teenage kind of filter on, Ronnie, so that that'll suit you. So
I could do one of. I don't know whether you can do it on videos, because you can do it on photos to make yourself look young, can't you?
No, you can't. TikTok is an amazing thing for that kind of stuff. I mean,
you can. So I could make myself look like really young.
Make yourself look human, even.
No, I think that might be quite. But then, who wants to be human? I mean, it's not really it's not really a kind of positive thing, is it?
Oh, you pessimist, you. So, are you going to be free to join us next Saturday then, Ronnie? 8
maybe I'll have to see. I might be able to go on there Saturday evening.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, but hopefully, a lot of Saturday evenings I'm free. So
there's really good rights-based community building up on TikTok, which is really, really good. And so
somebody likes my T-shirt. That's good.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Might give a shit. There we are.
Yes. We do a badge with that on it. It's quite popular. Yeah.
In fact, being as a vegan, I normally give several shits a day.
Okay, well, we don't need to go into that.
You won't go too much into that.
No, yeah, too much information. I think that is.
In more ways than one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What's next Saturday? There's a regular thing at 8 o'clock, British Irish time, and that's on TikTok. And I think it's That Vegan Show. There's quite a few different names for things, but they do on the Friday they do a vegan bingo, which is really interesting. So that's like a drinking game. It's the one where they take it least seriously. So if somebody puts in one of the stereotype kind of anti-vegan messages like bacon, though, everybody has a drink. That's the idea of that. So
I see. Oh dear.
Yeah.
So what happens if you're teetotal like me? I suppose you kind of.
Well, you just have a drink of tea, don't you?
Have a drink of tea, can't you? Yeah.
You can have a drink of
That's
tea.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So you can drink until you've got to go and have a pee.
Or have a bottle. I'd probably have a bottle with me. Save me getting up.
That's too much information again. That's 2 times already.
Yeah, I know. We hardly started, have we?
I know. Yeah, we've not started. Speaking of starting, maybe we ought to. So this is the last one. So we're still on this series of going through these ideas that came from the Animal Justice Academy, and they put together 50. Some of them we've commented have been a bit rather odd, and there's a couple of odd ones in this last 10 that we're going to go through. Now, we haven't finalized this, but I thought it might be good for us to do a kind of our 10 favorites. So it means that all the good ones are in one program, because it'd be good to share that around then.
Yes.
Especially if you get people on social media saying, have you got any ideas, kind of thing. So there's no point in them watching 5 programs. They can watch one. We're just going to make these poor people watch the 5.
Yes. Yeah.
So there we go. Right. Okay. So look at this, people. New layout. So this is number 41, and this is the kind of signature that you put on your emails. Have you got them? Have you, Ronnie?
Well, I did have a signature on mine that said sent from my iPhone, but I got rid of it.
I don't think that counts in this sense.
So I haven't got a signature on. No, I haven't got a signature like that on the emails. No. I can understand, the idea of this. I mean, you could just type something out at the bottom of your email every time, but that
there's no need. If you can do it. The one that you can see on the screen, Sociology one, is from this book, because this is my one.
Yeah. And that's your signature, is it, Roger? That
never works. This thing. There you go. Understanding. Yeah.
Because that signature in most cases would probably be longer than the email that you sent, wouldn't it?
Very often it would be. Yeah. So it makes it look as though I'm sending them a bigger email than I really am. So that message there is the same as on my cup. I'm still not going to be able to show you.
Cup. How big is the cup with that on it? That must be a really big cup if it's got all that writing on it.
No, the one that they've suggested, vegan for the animals, the planet, and my health.
Oh, that's on your cup. Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So that's I mean, I imagine most people do that already, in the sense that is it only Gmail? They've specified Gmail.
No, I think on a lot of email, probably most, if not all, email systems, you can do it.
Oh, okay. Right to you. Oh, well, there's not much to say about that one, really.
No, I think it's a good, it's another way of spreading the message, I suppose. One thing that would probably be even better is if you put like something about if you put a link to website underneath it, where people could learn more about veganism. Like, for instance, perhaps the Vegan Society website or whatever was applicable in people's own countries.
We've got a fight brewing in
Bingo isn't vegan.
Bingo isn't vegan. Well, what is eh? So right, so we've got one person watching on Facebook, so that's probably going to be my friend Paul from Galway City. So I'm just back yesterday from the Irish Vegan Festival, which is only the second one. The first one wasn't. They were just like finding their feet. So this one was better. The only weird thing was that we got the impression that most people who were attending were vegans already. So now they've got to start doing the thing of getting both. Like the Dublin Veg Fest and the Cork Veg Fest. You get a lot of non-vegans, but you also get a lot of vegans. Whereas the first one of this gala, it seemed to be mostly non-vegans. We had a lot of people claiming to be ex-vegan, which kind of irritated us quite a lot. And then the other day, Sunday, most people seem to be vegan already. So there you go.
I must say, I agree with Cliff's comment. He's got vegan for the animals, full stop, and I think that's that's kind of what I'd prefer, really.
Yeah, although it's not true, but there you go. But
well, I think it's. I think the thing is, it's if people adopt a plant-based diet for the environment or their health, then that isn't being vegan, is it? It's a philosophy of animal liberation. I mean, it could be that the animals include human animals as well, but it's nevertheless a philosophy of animal liberation, isn't it? Veganism.
Yeah, what it is you can be vegan for the environment, but not only that. If you just only that, then you're plant based. But I mean,
yes,
in other words, you've got to have this part of it. Otherwise, there's no way that you do fit to be vegan. Yeah, so that's right. It's just there's more to it. That's all. Anyway, moving on. Right, this one we thought this one was quite. Possibly quite difficult because we got the impression that from this this document that we had, that they'd kind of touted around saying, "Hey, members, as it were, give us some ideas," and so most of them seem to be aimed at new vegans or people who were quite quiet about their veganism and then might be having a chat with their family and nothing much else, that kind of stuff. But this one is much more than that. If you've got a talent for teaching. Teach a workshop at your community centre. I mean, you've got community centres in England. Are you even able to do this, Ronnie? If you wanted to,
we've not done workshops. I mean, we've done kind of fairs at them. There'd been more environmental fairs, but a big vegan presence at those events. That's kind of what we've done at community centres rather than workshops. Yeah, and maybe that some of them would be happy to have a workshop. I think it can be kind of any group of people. Like you might find, for instance, the Women's Institute might be interested in someone going along and talking to them about veganism, for instance.
Yeah, well, last time we were talking about church groups, weren't we?
Or church groups or anything like that. Yeah. But I would say to talk about veganism rather than animal protection or living a cruelty-free lifestyle.
Yeah, Andy picked up on that. It sounds like an RSPCA workshop because we thought, well, why would you focus on animal protection or cruelty-free lifestyle if you could talk about veganism or animal rights or animal liberation? So there is that. So, but again, I suppose that's really a specialist one. I mean, if you're confident enough to do that and then tout yourself around, as it were,
it might be that some of these organizations hold kind of regular workshops, like perhaps a monthly workshop, and often they'd invite people to come and come and do the workshop. And if that's the case, then people could put themselves forward and say, hey, I could come along and talk about veganism.
Yeah, well, I noticed that Animal Aid is starting to put out the thing about school talks again on.
Yes.
Did you notice that? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very good. I think school talks can be very valuable.
Well, when we contacted Animal Aid as Vegan Island, this is 10, 11 years ago now, they were saying that the real problem is getting access, which is kind of an obvious thing, really. Getting access is always the problem. And also once you've got access, you've got to think very carefully about the content then, in terms of age appropriate and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
So that's for people who are a bit more involved. That one, I would think.
Yes. Yeah. It wouldn't really be for new vegans.
No. So this one, if you work a lot in cafes, make sure you have an animal rights or vegan laptop sticker. So
I think that means if you do your work in cafes, it doesn't mean that you're that you're a waiter.
No, probably not. No, I don't think Cliff's going to like the sticker. Go vegan, save the earth. But
well, you see, I mean, if we did have a vegan society, or certainly a vegan run society, the earth would already be saved, because we'd have never had the climate crisis in the first place. So true. Yes, and I think, obviously, if speciesism is the fundamental cause of the climate crisis, then anti-speciesism must be the fundamental solution to it.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any jobs where you take your own laptops in, because that would apply if you've got a workplace like this.
Yeah, obviously this is for people that sit in cafes on their laptop and do stuff, isn't it?
But I've been a lecturer on and off for a few years, and it did change where you used to look up and see all the students scribbling away on pads. And then 2 years later, they're all tapping away on laptops and stuff.
So, I think this is good. I mean, I've got it on my phone, you see. I don't know whether you can see that. I'm doing the same as you. It's difficult because it's the other way around. See there?
Yeah, go vegan. Yeah,
go vegan. Because, if I'm somewhere and my phone's on the table, people see that, and it's it's another little drip thing, isn't it?
So they see your phone, then they see your T-shirt, and they go up and go, "Excuse me, are you vegan?"
and I go, "No, whatever made you think that?"
Yes, I'm being paid to wear this apparel.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a great idea here. I put laptops on my stickers. Much more effective there.
Like a great big sticker with a little laptop on it. Yeah, I probably that would be more effective.
That's very good. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Cook vegan meals for your local soup kitchen and for someone you know who's stuck at home. Now, this is a pretty good idea. I mean, I think this was happening quite a bit during COVID, actually. The kind of, look out for the elderly, and if you know someone who's isolated and everything. So I think a lot of people were doing shopping and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a worthy, these are worthy things to do. How much it would spread the vegan message just on its own, though, I'm not sure, because I think if you're cooking vegan meals for people to eat, then along with the meal, you have to also supply them with some sort of information about veganism, don't you?
Yeah, I'd say so. And also, Cliff comes up with this question here about do you think this kind of subliminal messaging works? If you're not having any kind of conversations as well.
I think it can to some. I think it kind of can to some degree, because I think it might make people kind of just think a bit more about veganism. I mean, I think somewhere along the line, those people have to receive more information, and that could be from a conversation. It could be from a video. It could be from reading the leaflets. I mean, I think just seeing the word vegan probably isn't enough, but I think that it can help in the general process.
Well, I'm not quite sure if I agree with that, because I've been sharing the last couple of weeks, because I've got lots and lots of pictures of the VIP Vigo events in Dublin, and a lot of them show people gulping. I shouldn't say gulping, reading the banners, right? And so I've got this series called Banners Get Attention, and so they don't necessarily speak to anybody. They'll in ones and twos. There's even a family looking at one, and they have a chat amongst themselves, and they might just go. But also in terms of the word vegan, we were thinking about that, because even with the buses going past, they're seeing Vegan Street, and there's all these signs saying vegan really big, so you can see them from the bus. And let's face it, if they hadn't seen that, the word vegan wouldn't have entered their consciousness at all that day.
I think another thing that happens with people, because it's something that kind of, happens with me, that and it kind of didn't really happen when I went vegan, because that kind of was something I decided to do, and then I did it almost immediately. But there's various things I found out about like maybe ways that I could be more environmentally friendly that require, a bit of effort or changing things. And I say, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. And then it kind of gets put off because I'd be busy with other things. And so if I'm then reminded of that, I might think, oh, yes, I need to do that. And I'm wondering if that might be the same with people, thinking more about veganism. People might think, oh, yeah, that's something I kind of really need to think about. They've read something about it. I think this is something I really need to think about. And then they kind of put that off. But if they say,
you mean like a jog of the memory type of thing?
Yeah, the jog of the memory to say, right, I really need to kind of bring this forward in what I'm doing. And so it could have that effect.
With this particular one, Terry brings up a thing that I think you mentioned, Ronnie, that you were thinking about the fact that the vegan stuff could get lost in the crowd, as it were, and so in that sense, you were a bit kind of iffy about it, were you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a worthy thing to do to provide vegan soup to a soup kitchen, but how far it would go in persuading people to go vegan, I'm not sure. Probably not very far, unless it's accompanied by some sort of information, I would think.
Yeah, well, obviously, if it's an entire vegan event, which we're gonna come on to, it would make a difference. This actual picture is the group that used to, because this is outside the museum in Dublin, and the museum finished at 4, and these people arrived at 7. So the VIP on a Wednesday and a Thursday, we used to do 4 to 7. But they were really pushy. If you were a bit, say you were caught up in a conversation and they were there kind of waiting for 3 or 4 minutes, they got really pushy about it, kind of, your time's up, mate, kind of off you go, and all this kind of stuff. So
they wanted their food.
Well, they wanted to start giving it away. No, it wasn't the punters, it was the
people, yeah. So when people had their food, did they go somewhere to sit down?
No, they were just, it was almost like a takeaway type situation. But I think some people would just stick around and eat it in case they wanted more than one version of it, I suppose.
Yes, yeah.
So I added a couple of things on this because this I think is a superior idea. Now this is the little slogan for Food Not Bombs from Dublin. So it was your friend Bernie Wright running this one, Ronnie.
Yes.
And, yeah. And so this is really good. And so this is an entirely vegan version of a soup kitchen. So, I mean, if people, if people are a little bit wary about talking about things like animal rights and everything, then this is one thing that they can do. And it's not as though people just come up, kind of gobble the food and go, because you get lots of conversations going. This is another shot of that. And in fact, you do get a lot of people coming up, and there's no reason for them to say this because they're going to get food anyway. They're going to say, this is brilliant because I'm a vegetarian. We even had a couple of people who said that they were vegan, but then it means that they were kind of really hungry because there was a lot of stuff that it was a mixture. They were saying that they sometimes feel forced to have it, non-vegan stuff. And other times when they were feeling stronger, they wouldn't. And so that means that they would go hungry. And so when they found a vegan event like this, they were absolutely made up about it. The only thing I would say about this is that to do it well, you would need to be in the same place on a regular basis so people get to know that you're there.
Yes.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if it's just iggly-piggly, it doesn't kind of work. If you look at that little one at the right there, you can't really see it very well, but I'll bring it a bit bigger. You can see we got the food at the far end there, and then you got a lot of clothing and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was really popular, and this was an entirely vegan run event, so all the food was vegan, and so people would actually have vegan conversations based on this. So in that sense, it kind of worked. So I would say that's better than just adding a bit of vegan stuff to a soup kitchen. So.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Now this is another one of the weird ones. Enlist the help of a local wildlife rescuer to stop cruel trapping, my favorite word, or drowning of animals in your community. Well, I don't know if I've got anything to say about this one, Ronnie.
Is there some non-cruel trapping? Does that exist?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
Well, enlist the help of a local wildlife rescuer. Well, first of all, wouldn't it be you helping the wildlife rescuer? Wouldn't it be that way round?
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Somebody already going around rescuing wildlife, wouldn't you say, well, can I help you? Because that wildlife rescuer will be doing those things anyway, won't they?
Yeah, you would have thought so. Yeah, and then you can veganize them.
And then you can veganize them. I mean, once again, this that's a very worthy thing to do. I mean, it's not directly connected with turning people vegan, but it's it's a good thing to do. I mean, my experience of wildlife rescues and kind of veganism isn't that great. I went to an open day last year of one of our nearest wildlife rescues, and I was kind of, I suppose, shocked but not surprised about the number of stalls they had there selling animal products. And I thought, well, it was a wildlife hospital, obviously doing some very good work. But you see, the thing is that if those people are concerned about wildlife, a major cause of the death and suffering of wildlife, or as we would call them, free living beings, is animal farming. Animal farming and the harm that does, to the natural world in various ways, is kind of responsible for kind of wiping out. I mean, look at the Amazon. All the animals in the Amazon that have been wiped out because of that land being felled, either for.
Which direction is it? I can't see it from here.
What, the Amazon?
Yeah, look at the Amazon, you said.
Oh, I don't know. You'd have to have really good eyesight.
Yeah.
But yeah, either through the clearing of the forest, either directly for cattle ranching or to grow soy, to feed to.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, there are activists tackling that, so it's not a question of you recruiting them; it's you joining them.
It's joining them, but what I'm saying is that's an example of animal farming being a major cause of destruction of wildlife. Yeah. And there you have a wildlife hospital.
Deb says something interesting. He said these folks are already on board with this idea. So
yeah, I find a lot of them here aren't. I mean, there are vegans that kind of are involved with the wildlife.
They're more like conservationists, would you say?
Well, I think they don't see the bigger picture. Like a wildlife hospital is concerned about, an animal's been brought to them that's injured or sick, and they're going to kind of, make that and try to make that animal better, and then, release the animal back into the wild often, and they're focused on that, but they're not looking at bigger causes of the of destruction of wildlife. They're focused in on what's immediately in front of them, and that's obviously a general problem with humanity, isn't it?
Yeah, Cliff said, are people actually going around drowning free living beings? But I mean, this is a generational thing. I remember, as a kid in Yorkshire, people would be taking sacks of kittens and stuff to the local canal.
Yes, and puppies. Yes, that used to be quite quite
But I
common.
mean, you don't kind of hear that. I just wonder whether the person who came up with this idea have maybe seen something in the news.
They maybe did, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's not something that you even. I mean, when did you ever see a case? Remember a case of this on social media, even?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah. So
Because in actual fact, that the best thing that anyone could do, for wildlife, for free living beings, is to actually go vegan. In terms of
yeah.
the impact on their habitat.
Yeah, I think Maz the Gob or somebody said that. I think so. Yeah, the best thing to do is for them to go vegan anyway. But yeah, interesting. Perhaps I don't know. What do you think about one of the things that used to be a real problem back in the 80s was when the RSPCA used to do these fundraisers and they would have lots and lots of products derived from other animals and stuff. Do you think that's changed now, or is it just the same?
Yes and no. Our local RSPCA does these nights where everyone can have a fish supper.
Oh, great!
So I was going to do a night where I had a dog supper to pay for my fish rescue organisation,
and
see how they like that. I mean, well, I wouldn't really, but like just kind of
it'd get their attention if nothing else.
One of our nearest RSPCA branches. Because it's the branches we're talking about. It's the RSPCA branches that are involved in the animal rescue rather than the kind of central organisation. And the one with the fish suppers is our local branch, but there's one, a few miles away that there's a few vegans and vegetarians on their kind of committee, and they all their events are at least vegetarian. And mostly vegan, when they hold events where there's food. So it all depends on who's running the branch. They vary. But our local dog, one of our local dog rescues a few years ago, they were for one of their fundraising events, they were going to do a pig roast. And it's only because one of their rehomers is vegan, and she said, right, if you do that, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go and offer my services to a different dog rescue. And so they they reeled back on doing the pig roast. They didn't have the pig roast because they were too worried about losing her. But that's the kind of thing that
you face. Talk about not seeing the bigger picture, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, and another one I went to. I remember doing it was a vegan stall. It was once again a local rescue centre. It was their open day, and they had someone that they had a burger van there. They had someone selling pork baps. They had a stall from a zoo, and the and the second prize in their raffle was a day at the horse racing. So quite a number of animal rights violations wrapped up in there.
Easygoing speciesism. That's what I call that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I remember a time when I was in Liverpool, so this must have been early 80s. For some reason, we ended up doing a demo at it's called Paddy's Teepee. It was the Catholic church, and because the shape of the thing, and but they had a service for the animals. It was called. There's a lot of people going in there with fur coats and stuff, and obviously dressed, leather and all the rest of it. And so you just think, well, this kind of idea of connecting the dots, they're just not there sometimes, are they? So,
but I think there's a question mark over religion itself in terms of animal liberation, isn't there? My view is that it's been
what was the booby prize or the boogie prize? Was that a snare?
It wouldn't at all surprise me if it was. No. Yeah, it was. Yeah, or kind of some. You could have a ton of rat poison or something for your prize. Yeah.
Right. So speaking of dogs, if you have a dog, getting a cute sweater that says "vegan dog" or something like that. So.
The only problem with this, of course, is there's no such thing as a vegan dog. No such thing as a vegan dog, because veganism is a philosophy. And so in order to be vegan, you have to be able to understand that philosophy.
Yeah.
So dogs can't
understand. Ronnie, is it I mean, is that too picky? I mean, it's accurate.
Well, I don't know, because of course I think it's really important to emphasise that veganism is a philosophy.
Well, yeah, because
A vegan fed dog, you could put vegan fed dog in a dog dog that eats vegan
the problem
food.
with this vegan dog is it automatically means diet.
Well, yes, it means diet, but it's but if you say a person's vegan, that shouldn't be just to do with diet. I know there's people, unfortunately, a lot of people think it's just to do with diet, but it's not. Veganism is a
vegan
philosophy.
dog bracket, but veganism is not a diet bracket.
Yeah, something like that. But or something. I don't know how you. It's a question of like being able to put something short on the
Yeah,
sweater,
well, obviously,
isn't it?
what they're thinking of is a conversation starter, which it possibly would be, but it's kind of giving the wrong message at the same time. So it might.
Yeah. So what
Yeah. So
you've got.
Yeah. This one's, you like this one? A
Plant pup. Yeah. Yes. Or plant pooch, because it might not be a pup, but plant pooch.
Yeah, that's even better. Otherwise, you're gonna be getting adults being called pups. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yes, yeah. But I think this is the problem, and like it's impossible for a baby or a child under a certain age to be vegan, because they can't comprehend the philosophy either. So you can't have a vegan baby. You can have a baby that's fed a vegan diet.
What about those people who say that everybody's born vegan?
Well, it's like saying everyone's born anti-racist. You're not, because you have to kind of understand what racism is and be opposed to it, don't you? So no, not everyone's born vegan. It's not possible, because it means understanding and adopting a philosophy to be vegan, and you kind of can't do that as a really young baby, because you're not intellectually capable of that.
Here's one, but I'm not quite sure a non-vegan would get this really. But about Elwood's, that's the kind of fake dog meat.
Yeah, they're the people that pretend they're selling dog meat, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, Cliff did a street event in Belfast the other day, and it was kind of giving out the Elwood's thing and saying don't because they even said I really picked up on it. So I asked Cliff, and he said nobody picked up on this, but they were claiming, free range, grass fed, and I was thinking, grass fed dogs.
Well, they do eat grass to be sick, don't they? So
yeah, but that's going to be no good for the meat trade, is it?
They're not going to really exist on grass.
Yeah, because I was thinking about calling it something like Elwood's reassurance campaign or something. And so, kind of, well, we know that there's a bit of pushback here, but we want to reassure you that these dogs are actually, that they're treated just as well as chickens and pigs. Some of them might have to be castrated, and the aggressive ones might have to pull their teeth out and everything. But I mean, that's just standard practice kind of thing. And it'd be interesting to see what a non-vegan would make of that, because it would kind of automatically make them think about the other animals too,
Well, there was a local group to me. I think it was just it was before the COVID, before the lockdown. They did an event in the street where they had a very, very realistic looking model of a Chihuahua, and they were roasting this model of a Chihuahua on a spit and saying, "Who wants dog meat? Come and get your dog meat," and stuff like that. You see, and they nearly got beaten up. People went mad. Came up all shouting and swearing and everything, and then they had leaflets to give to people and to explain that this wasn't it wasn't really it wasn't a real dog.
It was a vegan candid camera. I bet
it was. Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah.
I bet not many people get that cultural reference anymore.
They probably don't. Not if they're if they're not as old as us. They won't know what that is.
Oh, somebody's being witty here, Andy. You did one with babies. Red tricycle approved. So the red tractor.
You could. I suppose you could use a
quite
baby,
good,
couldn't you? You know.
Yeah, that's pretty good, that one.
And get even more beaten up, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, human meat. Okay, moving on then. Yeah, this one. We didn't understand this one, did we? Really, Ronnie?
Kind of not.
So
not
I'll make
totally.
it a bit bigger
No.
so people got more of a chance of seeing it. But start a list that counts the number of non-vegans that you have talked about animal rights. By keeping tabs on your conversation, you will no doubt start them more frequently. So there's two parts to that. And I certainly don't understand the second part, that by making a list, that's going to make you do it more often. But you thought it might be quite useful.
Well, how I thought about it is for people that kind of do have conversations with non-vegans. I mean, I don't have many conversations with non-vegans, to be honest, apart from like maybe at a checkout or something, which is very short conversation, isn't it? But like us, I don't, because like most people I know are vegan, but there are people that probably would have a lot of conversations with non-vegans in their social life or in their working life. And I think something that kind of encourage those people to kind of bring up the subject of animal rights, because it can be all too easy to just go with the flow and just talk about the football or the weather or something like that with people, and not bring up the subject of animal rights or veganism. It can be very easy to fall into that pattern, and I think something like that might kind of remind people, like,
There's a bit of an irony for me here, because we talked before. There was talk about if you're into kind of teaching and stuff, then they would talk about animal protection and cruelty-free diets, which you would think would be the easiest thing to do in this context, and then the talk for animal rights would be for the community centre. But I mean, obviously, I wouldn't advocate that people talk about anything else besides animal liberation and veganism anyway, no matter what it was, So
yes, absolutely, yeah. But I think it's just a question of finding a hook, because just to come out with it like cold, oh, hello, by the way, I'm here to talk to you about veganism. It's a little bit like Jehovah's Witness, isn't it? Going around, can I talk to you about Jesus, sort of thing. It's you kind of, it's better to find a hook in the conversation where you can introduce it, rather than just bring it in cold, because that's
this is this is a good idea about that. I mean, this is a question that I had. You got a short list. Does it inspire you to do more? I can't kind of see that. But what I'm left with this one is, again, going back to where they got these 50 ideas from, different people, obviously, is kind of, who is saying this and who is it aimed at? I mean, it's not aimed at vegan activists, and it's not aimed at, people who do kind of street work already. You would be, I mean, there's no point in having a list of people there. It's not aimed at anybody doing, door dropping or anything. I mean, like, is this just like bringing animal rights up? I mean, it's almost living up to the stereotype, isn't it? Oh,
Well, I mean, if you're doing information stores, whether it's on the street or at community events or whatever, then
I don't think that's what this is on about, though.
No, I think it's about vegans. It's aimed at vegans that would otherwise not be having any kind of interaction where they'd be promoting veganism. I think that's what
I could see it. You could get the kind of Francione idea, which is kind of, you get your vegan meal on a plane, and people take notice of that, and you end up having a conversation about it. So I can see it in that kind of sense.
But that's kind of something that we all should try to do, isn't it? Whether we're active in other ways or not active in other ways. If there's
if you're on a train journey running down to London or something, how do how does it happen?
Well, it just depends on how. For instance, there was I'd been some years ago. I'd been to a vegan festival in Bristol, and then I was in we went to Bath, and I went into a shop in Bath, and you know, the woman in the shop said, "Oh, have you had a good day?" I said, "Yeah, really good." I said, "I've just come from the vegan festival in Bristol." And she said, "Oh, what was that all about?" I said, "Oh, it's you know to do with various aspects of veganism and
yeah, the hints in the name, mate.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, of course." But I had, you see, I always carry literature on me, and I had a booklet about veganism. I said, "Here, look, have a look at this booklet. That'll tell you, that'll kind of tell you all about it." And so, so that can help. That you can get in a conversation with people where they express some interest in veganism, or they're wondering what it is, and you can have a booklet or a leaflet even. I mean, a booklet's probably better, and say, right, here you are, have a look at that. And that's kind of what I tend to do, so that it's not just about a conversation, it's about actually giving that person something to take away and read.
Yeah, well, obviously having kind of vegan t-shirts and stuff that will help. In fact, there used to be a time when they used to have these t-shirts saying vegan or something like "I'm vegan, ask me why." Do you remember those?
Yes.
I think I
do.
Yeah, because I know that in the time when there was a big argument about animal rights and animal welfare, a lot of people in the movement, like Bruce Friedrich of PETA at the time, he was saying that "I'm a vegetarian, ask me why" is better than "I'm a vegan, ask me why," which obviously irritated all the abolitionists,
I'd have thought "I'm a vegan" would be more likely to get questions from people.
Well, I suppose, I mean, we talked about a long time ago now, because I think this guy works for Beyond Meat or something now. And so I suppose it was the time when, the movement thought of veganism as a scare word, which wasn't that many years ago. I mean,
No.
It's quite shocking. In fact, I've got a time tunnel coming up about that, which is, so that's going to be not this week, but next, about when the groups changed from things like veggie and veg to vegan, and it was really recent. I mean, there's some videos that PETA put out, for example, they're only about 4 years old, and it's still vegetarian on it, So
yes,
quite a shock, really. Right, 48. Make personal goals related to your activism. Example. Oh, all right, this is a similar thing, isn't it? Really,
it's similar to the it's similar. It's similar to the previous one, really, isn't it? Making a kind of list of stuff, and yes, it could encourage people to. But I think the idea would be to kind of have as many conversations as you can as you go about your everyday life. You try to kind of find hooks in your conversations where you can kind of perhaps
and then you make a list,
idea.
and you're same as the other one. I mean, this is almost the same, really, isn't it?
It is really quite. It is really quite similar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we should just leave it at that then. So, okay, 49. Yeah. Now, I didn't like this one, but you said this is what you do.
Yeah. Well, you see, what I do. I mean, I do a lot of door dropping, and I mean, the thing is that if you're doing kind of information stalls, they tend to be kind of more set, that you'll kind of do them at an event, or you've got a regular time when you're kind of going out to do that, if you're doing it in the street, because maybe you're doing these things with other people, and so those events will kind of already be on your calendar, right? And they kind of are on mine. But what I'll do is I'll kind of look a couple of weeks advance, and I look at which days can I do door dropping, and I'll put that on my calendar for when I'm going to go out and do some door dropping, because I've got time free that day to be able to do it. So I do this, and I think it kind of can be useful.
Yeah, and also Vegan Island Radio, doing an interview with them tomorrow. It's more goal focused. This I could see how this could work, is if you've got something planned, for the future, and you run into people, you can then say, "Oh, you know, do you fancy coming along to this? It might actually boost your numbers and stuff for
Yeah.
draw dropping, for example. So that
it kind of, if you've got that, put that on that calendar, I think it kind of gives you a bit more determination to kind of do it, because you've actually decided, right, I'm going to do that day. I think it can help.
Apparently we technically planned it now. That's not how it works. Ronnie just tells me what we're doing about 5 minutes before.
If only, yeah.
All right, so yeah, it's interesting, really, because I was very kind of, I'm not sure about this at all, but it's getting some support, so that's interesting. Structure your time better. Yeah,
it is good to kind of. I mean, something big might come up and you might have to cancel it, but I think it's always good to plan these things in advance.
All right, yeah. Well, there you go. You see, I'm completely out of the loop on this one then, because a lot of people are Have you disqualified me from probably? Wouldn't be the first time. Right. There's somebody who's still got a grandfather clock here, because our time.
Yes, I know. Because of course the thing is, we're so used to like the smartphones and computers.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But I mean, we've got quite a few. I mean, when the clocks go back and forward, we've got about 4 or 5 clocks in the house that I have to reset.
I know a lot of people who don't bother now. I mean, I've got a clock in the van, and it's kind of right half of the year.
Yeah, I've done. I did the one in the car the other day. There's still quite a few that you have to you have to do. But really, I think I'd like to see summertime stay all the year round. I think it'd be much better rather than keep switching.
It's the vegan thing to do, Ronnie.
It is, yes. Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. Right, let's move on to the last one. The last one, people, which isn't that brilliant, but I mean, I suppose, this has made us think about the times when we've been contacted and stuff.
Yeah, it kind of is nice, because I think the thing is that with doing vegan outreach, whatever form of outreach you're doing, you kind of don't always get an awful lot of feedback, and you kind of don't know, who you've influenced to actually go vegan. So if someone sends you a thank you note, then I think that that can be very encouraging. That at least that about some of the people that you've influenced. So I think I think this is it's a little thing, but I think it is positive.
Yeah, I get you that, and I did say that in fact we had on the street one time in Dublin, a entire family came back and said, "Do you remember us 3 months ago?" And we said, "I think so." He said, "We're all vegan now." So you do get that type of thing. But here's a movement issue this raises, Ronnie. In terms of like pressure campaigns versus vegan education, as you say, you don't get a lot of immediate feedback with the vegan education. So pressure campaigns might seem a bit more tangible. You're there and you've done stuff for the day, that kind of thing.
If you're kind of looking for some result that you can gauge, I mean, pressure campaigns can go a long time, or can go forever without achieving their aim, of course. And we've kind of both had experience of pressure campaigns that were successful and ones that weren't, obviously. With vegan education, you tend not to really kind of have that same feedback that you might get from a pressure campaign in terms of it achieving anything. But I think we kind of know that it does, because everyone that has gone vegan has done so because they received information.
From somewhere.
And then it could have been several lots of information, and from in all different ways. With me, it was an article in a magazine. I know people where it was a leaflet, other people where it's been they've watched a video.
Do you know anybody who went vegan because they've been given £1 million?
I don't, funny enough.
No, it's funny that, isn't it?
I mean, sometimes
people go vegan
I do
because
kind
they
of
give
wish,
them a leaflet, but if you offer them £1 million,
I do wish sometimes I wasn't vegan, so that somebody could give me £1 million to go vegan.
Yeah.
But are they going to give someone like me £1 million? They're only going to give probably they're only going to offer to probably one of the most anti-vegan people in the country £1 million.
Yeah, you're not right. You're not right wing enough to be offered that.
No.
That
I'm not horrible enough to offer £1 million to. I just wonder who the next. It's a shame Hitler's not still alive, or Stalin, because they could have offered them £1 million to go vegan, couldn't they?
Oh, well, Hitler was a vegetarian, don't you know?
Don't you know? Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you know, I tell you one thing. It's really interesting because that argument from the non-vegans changed, because it always used to be, oh well, Hitler was a vegetarian, which obviously we know is not true, but that was one of the arguments. And then when veganism, as it were, took over, then suddenly Hitler was a vegan, which certainly was.
He went vegan, did he?
Yeah, he went vegan. Yeah, because they, because I think the people who had a little bit of cop on realized that if you say to a vegan, "Oh, somebody went vegetarian," it doesn't really mean that much to a vegan,
no,
right?
It doesn't.
No. So I think they actually kind of realized that, and so the only thing that they could do to keep that would be to say they've gone vegan. So yeah, that was an interesting thing,
Well, they say anything, don't they? These people.
The epitome of anti-oppression. That's right. Yeah. Actually.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw. I couldn't believe it. I saw a live on TikTok yesterday, which basically said Hitler wasn't such a bad guy, and somebody was arguing that. You get all kinds of stuff on there.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm sure you do. It's not something I kind of really look at. I suppose I probably will need to look at it more if I'm going to take part in any of these TikTok lives.
Yeah. Oh, you'll soon get used to the toxicity and the abuse and the.
Well, I suppose that's in the comments, isn't it? Really. So I probably won't look at the comments, to be honest.
Hitler's a painter too. Yeah, I think he could do an entire apartment in an afternoon.
Well, he was a painter. He was an author, wasn't he? He was an author.
Oh yeah, Mein Kampf. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Then
again, he had a bit of time to write, didn't he? At the time,
he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. Goes back to my time when I was in prison, because this is true, of course, is that history is written usually by the victors. It's usually by the male members of the victors as well. And it started to change during the Falklands thing, because suddenly you ended up getting squaddies putting together their memoirs and stuff, which was kind of unknown at the time. And it was a real kind of threat to the establishment, really, because things like came out that one of the top sergeants or top kind of soldiers was actually shot in the back by the squaddies, because he was such this guy was like into hunting and all this kind of stuff, and I think he was such a gung-ho kind of thing. He was putting the entire platoon at risk, and so they thought, right, we're not having this. We're going to take him out. And of course, that kind of stuff wouldn't have come out normally. But,
no, and I think probably with social media, you'll get more of that coming out, won't there?
I think it might have been the time when these ebooks and self-publishing started. I think so. That kind of changed it in that sense.
Yeah.
Right. Did Hitler invent crazy paving? I don't know. Yeah.
Didn't invent crazy paving.
You never know. Yeah. we didn't expect that question today, did we, Ronnie? So
we kind of didn't know. No.
Yeah. Well,
but we've come to the end of this. It's not the end of Still Alive. Unfortunately for everyone, that's still continuing, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know what we're going to talk about next week on that. We haven't worked that out yet. But it's kind of the end of this, the 50 ideas from the Animal Justice Academy. Ideas for activism.
Blimey, I didn't realize that the conversation had gone on to Fred West. Would you believe?
Fred West.
So, yeah. Contaminating our chat lines here.
Yeah, I lived not far from where Fred West lived. because he lived in Gloucester. So I was born in Gloucester, actually. And when I was a very young child, I lived very near to where Fred. I don't think Fred West was living there at the time, but it was the same street where he lived for a while.
All right, that is pretty close then, isn't it?
Yeah. So
makes you feel a bit spooky, isn't it? Really, I suppose
it does. It could have had me, couldn't he? No, not worrying.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
So we may do this. We may do this top 10 when we've worked them out, because really
it won't be next week though.
No, it won't be next week. It might be the week after that, because some of the tips were like really good, and some of them were not so great. There's certainly some better than others.
Just weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think it would be good to have a program where all the good ones are in the same place. Seems to me, because then if anybody asks you a question about, got any ideas, you can just refer them to that, and they're not having to plow through 5 hours.
Yeah, and I think 10 good. I think 10 the 10 best ones would probably cover pretty much everything if we can find the 10. So that would be good.
Well, it'll give us something to do. Now, I want to, before we go, I want to give an advert for my time tunnel, which is 7 o'clock my time, Irish time, this Thursday. And it's a very special thing, because I'm going to be in the chat, because it's actually a premiere. And what it is a tenacious activist has found the full recording of the 1989 British Institute debate. So there was, in 1989, the BBC, through the Arena programme, put out a 5-hour special, which was watched by 1 million people. And it included things like spitting image and stuff. There was even a weird documentary about when the days when other animals were put on trial and stuff, which was really interesting. There was some monks had prosecuted some mice, claiming that the mice were stealing their food, right? And so they actually got taken to court, and the mice were kind of given legal representation. And so the Mice Council said, well, look, the mice have got a counterclaim against you for prior occupation. So the land that you built your monastery on belonged to the mice before you came. So they've got a claim against you as well. So that's how weird things happened. But the last 90 minutes of this 5-hour thing was called the Animal Rights Debate. And it featured Tom Reagan, Andrew Lindsay, and Richard Ryder. There's also a very interesting and actually quite good contribution from David Icke, of all people, who was representing the Green Party at the time. There was 3 people in opposing the motion, which was the Animal Kingdom needs a Bill of Rights. Not a great title, but the Reagan thing is really good. But the interesting thing, which was missing, because I used to have it on tape, right? And the interesting thing is the things from the audience, which had gone for years and years and years. And so until about 5 days ago, I thought this thing was lost forever. And now it's kind of back, the full thing. So it's really quite interesting. Yeah, he was.
David Icke was a goalkeeper, wasn't he? He was a goalkeeper.
City,
yeah. And he wasn't he quite high up in the Green Party? Was he?
Well, he was their spokesperson for this prestigious.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he was kind of part of the leadership of the Green Party.
Yeah.
So,
he said the Green Party was committed to having a Minister of Animal Welfare in a green cabinet, as he called it. And that brings up an interesting point. We talk about 1989, but things are no different now. There's a lot of confusion between animal rights and animal welfare. And a lot of people in the audience were having a real problem getting their head around the idea of animal rights. They were criticizing the motion, saying it should be about animal welfare because everybody knows what that means and all the rest of it. And so there was vets in the audience. There was animal rights advocates, obviously. There was circus proprietors, somebody running an aquarium, I think. That David Henshaw was in the audience. Do you remember him?
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And so there's some really interesting stuff. It's a really kind of fascinating historical document. So I decided that I'd show it in full, which is probably the first time it's been seen for years, because I've certainly not seen it since definitely about the 1990s. So that's this Thursday. So oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is back to Ike here. It was everything went very strange for Ike when he went on the Wogan show. I think he got I think he made a fool of himself. I think if you
was this, did he start talking about the reptilians?
I think it was the start of the Illuminati type stuff.
Oh right, yeah,
all the rest.
I've always thought though, why do we need reptilians when we got humans? Aren't humans bad enough without reptilians being brought into the equation? I've always wondered that.
It's funny that, isn't it? Because it's totally true, isn't it? Are they supposed to be worse than we are? Are they? So.
Yeah, there's is there really a species worse than us? I don't really think so.
Yeah,
not you and I, Roger, but
yeah,
in general.
To be honest, I subscribe to that thing about, you get those memes or you get those cartoons where you've got aliens kind of visiting the planet, and then they kind of go, put the brakes on and go, I think we better come back in a few hundred years. These are still too primitive, and then they bugger off again, So
that's right, yeah. Or
I subscribe to that. They're probably better than we are, and yeah. Right, okie dokie. So I think we're probably done then. Have you got any final words of wisdom, Ronnie?
Just I hope people will join us again, same time, same place. I suppose.
Same bat time.
And that's going to be, next Tuesday, where we'll be talking about something else, which we don't know yet. But
no, we don't know where it is, but we'll be
going to be really interesting and enthralling and exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, providing, of course, Ronnie, that we are
still alive.